good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. You are listening to the spooky Halloween episode of Holding Down the Fort with me, Alejandro Soto. Thanks to Lubes, a local Fort Wayne DJ, for making this spooky tune we're listening to right now. Thank you to my guest today, the wonderful Miss Emma Magsamen. She's a local artist here in Fort Wayne. She's done a couple posters for me. You've seen them on my Spotify, no, my Instagram page, if you've checked that out. And you can check more of her stuff out at her page. You'll find the links to that below. Come out this Thursday to the Garden. I'm playing at Uncommon. That's the gallery Olivia Ulch put together of her photography and her poems. I'm going to be playing music all night. It's going to be great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this special spooky Halloween episode of Holding Down the Fort. Yeah, so Emma, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is great. It's going to be episode 16, and it's going to be the Halloween episode.
Oh my gosh.
Because it'll come out next Tuesday.
That's exciting. Thank you for having me for your Halloween podcast. I'm honestly honored. That's so cool.
Pretty sweet. Yeah, it just happened that the Tuesday I'm releasing is Halloween. So, ooh.
Yeah, spooky. I'll try to keep it scary.
Yeah.
A little scary in the background.
Yeah. Do some jump scares or something, maybe. Dress in a nun costume. I've been seeing the commercials for the Nun on YouTube, and I hate scary movies, and it's they even put jump scares in the trailer, and I'm like, fuck you. Don't like that.
Trailers show a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
They almost show the whole movie, and they don't
ridiculous.
need
to. No, come on, leave something for me to discover. That's
exactly.
But I was listening to another podcast, and it was two comedians talking about the one guy had just did an indie film, an independent film. It's one that's not going to make a lot of money, and so they were talking about how there are movies made that are just for the purpose of making money. They churn them out and they make money. People go see them, and so I think maybe that's what the Nun is. I don't know. It's probably making them enough money.
I'm sure. I think Halloween releases actually probably make a lot of money because they can put them out and people kind of just want to go to the movie to get scared during the season, I feel like. So,
yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're always good.
No, I've seen. So there was that. Did you ever? It was that movie. I think it was Annabelle. It was about the doll.
The
It
doll.
was it was a possessed doll.
Yeah,
Classic.
I didn't see it.
And I got dragged along to see it in the theaters, and the first 2/3 I was scared, and then there was clear, I saw several clear continuity errors.
Uh-oh.
That's it. Earlier in the film, their apartment is on the top floor, or there's stairs going up the building, and then later in the film she's about to jump off the top floor from her apartment. I'm wait, they were in the middle of the building before. The best one was this picture, a picture got taken and their hair, the wind was blowing, and it was a picture of a baby, so of course the baby is making a bad face, and then they get given the photo and it's this perfect headshot. And I'm that is not the photo that they took of that wind blowing. And it totally lost me. I couldn't be scared for the rest of it because it just totally poked, the fourth wall completely fell for me.
Yeah.
And I was okay, I just know that this is a film now. I can't. I was no longer able to suspend my disbelief. And that's one of those things. That's one of the things I learned in theater school that I found most interesting was when you go into a play or a work of theater, a work of fiction, you have to willingly suspend your disbelief. And so you go in and consciously say in your mind, or just have the thought that, okay, I know this is fake. These are people that are reading lines that are written down in a script that they've been practicing for the last 6 to 8 weeks, and it's going to last the runtime that's listed in the program. But you have to let that shit go and suspend your disbelief so that you can immerse yourself into the art and actually believe that it's a real thing. And get the emotional experience of the true work. And so I wasn't able to do that with Annabelle.
Yeah, that is important because you don't want to you kind of want to not be there when you're watching. A good film keeps you there. Like, it doesn't take you back to your, at least for me personally, I like when I disappear when I'm watching a movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm not here, I'm in this character, this story, this like moment where I can just be. I love movies. That's definitely one of my things. But yeah, I don't like the continuity errors. I don't like the the little bits that just like you suddenly you feel like you're gone, like you're back, and you're like, this is I'm out here now, and this is a third perspective. I can see myself watching the TV.
Yeah, like almost gets like kind of trippy. You're like, now I know that I'm sitting here watching, I'm watching myself watch the movie now, and I'm like, there's like too much going on in my brain. I came into this theater to shut off that part of my brain, and
that's the truth.
And you just kicked that part of my brain right back on. So.
Yeah, especially in a theater.
In a bad movie, that's what. But yeah, that like letting go thing. Yeah, I think that's what good art does.
True. Any art.
So your things, you're like mainly, I know you as a visual artist. You've done some posters for some stuff for me.
I have. Thank you. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Hey, great birthday party. Gotta shout it out on the pod.
It was awesome.
Great birthday party. Yeah. 29. Feeling fine. You know?
That's right. And yeah, the art you did was super cool.
Thank you.
I've connected with a couple artists that have this like cartoony style, like, and I don't mean that to like diminish the value, like cartoon, like
that's what it is.
Okay, cool. And honestly. So like how'd you get into that, and like do you consider that to be your main form of like art?
Yeah, probably. I mean, illustration is just probably a basic, because I do a lot of just illustration, whether it's different mediums. I do mostly digital because I went to school actually locally, St. Francis. I went for their animation program.
Oh yeah.
So I have an animation degree, which is cool, but not the most useful, if I'm being honest. It says animation on it, so it's like really cool to show off, but I have not gotten many jobs from it. I've done commissions animation wise, and that's about it. Cool. But yeah. It's like whether I'm using paint or like I've been really into colored pencil. I think colored pencil's so pretty, and blending them is so fun, and it's easy. Like having paper is nice. I do like going back to paper because I was mostly trained to do things digitally. So Photoshop, Clip Studio, Paint, all the whatever paint programs, and then I think it was I don't remember what animation program we used now that I'm thinking about it, because it was kind of in between times. I think people use Toon Boom now, but it's all basically your Photoshops and stuff. So that's like the main illustration that I think I use. I actually just use my iPad. So iPad, Procreate, Apple Pencil, which I highly recommend for anyone who wants to get into digital art.
Yeah.
Because the price is actually the best when you go iPad, even used, maybe. You could get them used. And Procreate's like, I think, $15, maybe $20. But that's a one-time payment.
Oh, nice.
Big deal.
Nice.
Apple, hire me. Just kidding.
No paid product placement.
No,
here.
Literally, not at all.
Just like to use it.
I like accessibility for digital things, so I recommend it, because instead of getting a whole computer or laptop and then pay for your programs monthly is hard. So iPad. Recommend it. And they're coming out with an animation program in November.
Oh,
very excited to try it, actually.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
It's from the same like Adobe. Yeah, because Procreate's Adobe, and they're coming out with like an iPad animation program. I forget what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
Excited. You'll see stuff from me when that comes out.
Heck yeah.
Excited.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's going to be super cool. Yeah. I've been wanting to like get into doing projections and like projecting for DJ sets and stuff.
Projection is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And like so easy to do. You just need a projector and like stuff to put in it. The part I can't do is create the stuff to put in it.
Oh man. Yeah, let me know. Because
that'll be super cool.
I've always thought like that would be so cool, especially when you're, whoever's making like the, I guess maybe animation in my case, or film that you're projecting, it's like they have to be aware of the space. It's like, oh, that's so cool to like, you'd probably have to like go to the space and like maybe take measurements and like figure out how they're going to interact. Like especially interactive projection is so cool. That's the best. Like where you look like you're like in it, you know, or like you're interacting with it. I've been seeing that a lot at certain shows, which I think is cool.
Oh.
You know, big artists, but we can make it happen.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen stuff like that. I mean,
If I see
I'm just
anything, I'll
thinking from
send it to
like,
you.
I like for like concerts and stuff of people having like massive screens on stage and stuff, and easier way to do it and more cost efficient than buying a whole bunch of LED screens is buy a projector.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
put that on just on top of something. So that's super cool. So you got an animation degree, but you said you're getting more towards like doing like physical, like the like working with paper, like paper and pencil.
Yeah, I think I started digital art honestly when I was probably like 12 or something like that, really young. I was like so excited. I had one of like the hand like the I don't know how to explain it nowadays. This is gonna age us, but it was the tablets you drew on, but they weren't on the screen. It was like a separate USB you plugged into your computer with a stylus and a
Oh.
pad.
Uh-huh.
And so I did digital for a really long time.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
do you remember
I
those?
remember a friend of mine got one of those in high school,
Yeah,
and it was
super
like,
exciting.
whoa, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like the future at the time.
It
And now
did, yeah.
I have an iPad and sometimes I use it and I'm like, "Whoa," my, middle school self would be like,
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah.
What is this technology? I can just draw on the screen. Because that was the crazy part was you're kind of looking at your computer but drawing down.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah. I never got one, but I always thought that would like have to be hard, like kind of
It
disconnecting
was,
your
yeah.
brain from your hand or like your visual
Yeah.
sense from like yeah,
I think
yeah.
it probably actually I think it like worked on my hand-eye coordination a little bit over
Mm-hmm.
time, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like definitely draining. I remember it feeling and just
Mm-hmm.
being at a computer, I'd be up late and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was those were crazy. I started with that and I have just done digital and that's why I went to school for animation. I actually also did Anthus for a little bit, which was awesome. Recommend
Oh, cool.
Anthus to anyone who's listening and still in high
Yeah.
school. So cool. I did graphic design in the film production, which is where I learned
Oh.
some film stuff too, because I took some film classes in college, which I love. I
Mm-hmm.
loved editing and stuff. But yeah, let me come back to that. I like that as I've gotten older, I've found that I find comfort in like the paper medium or like a canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes digital almost feels because I've done so many commissions in the past, it almost feels very work based, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I get more like creativity flow and enjoyment for making art for myself when it's actually
Mm-hmm.
like on paper or on canvas or I don't know, like even collaging I've done recently, which collaging is so cool because as an illustrator, I can get very in my head about, proportions or like, does this hair look good? Is this character even look like a human being right now? But collaging's cool because you just kind of cut stuff out and then you get to play with it. So
Mm-hmm.
love collaging. That's been a new thing actually I
Oh,
like. So
cool.
I do a little bit of all of it because it's so fun.
Yeah.
And I collect art supplies. So
Yeah, something I heard, I think it was Trixie Garcia. She's one of Jerry Garcia's kids, and she said
okay.
Jerry would always be bringing home art supplies and like different colored pencils and
Yeah.
pastels and stuff, and just like things for him to play with and just to like keep creativity flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
I agree. I think actually one of the things that I didn't agree with when I was in college that I think they just tell us this because they want us to be successful in a way, but I think like everyone works different and some creatives, I think it's okay to like play with mediums because boxing yourself into one thing, it's
Hmm.
like there's nothing better than like trying other things too when you're creative. Like for your mind, I feel
Hmm.
like at least for me, I feel like it loosens me up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I said, I did digital illustrative, very like cartoon comic book style almost for like most of high school and then into college I did all of that. But yeah, it's just like been nice to do different stuff I did not do in those years. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
is kind of like still my style, same kind of creative processes,
Hmm.
but getting away from the screen, I think, actually, honestly, more than anything.
Yeah.
Because that's the only unfortunate thing about digital art of any kind, editing, even like editing, illustration, I'm sure music production. It just gets hard sometimes when you realize you're at a screen. Because
frying your eyeballs out of your brain or out of your head. Yeah.
Because I'm on screens a lot anyway, so it's like I think it's just nice to get away from it. That's why I like getting back to that. And colored pencils are just they're so cool. They blend in a lot of different ways. You can layer, you can actually smudge them if you get good ones and not like cheaper ones. They're like more waxy. But yeah, they're really fun. That's a thing I've never got into, so that's been fun to try something completely new.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks.
So when did you start drawing and like making art?
Oh man, I love that question. So I honestly my earliest memory of drawing, besides probably being really young and like 3, like that's not a memory, it's like a photo my mom has somewhere, you know what I mean? But I used to like finger paint and stuff a lot. I have very vague memories of paint on my hands, which, you know, I think a lot of parents do with their kids. That's a normal thing. But I think the one I like to say for when I realized I wanted to like be an artist and like draw and keep drawing, and that drawing was something that was mine, like it was always there for me, was when I was like, I think I was maybe 6 or like 7, and I had a bunch of, this is a throwback too, a bunch of like Pokemon, I don't know what they were called. They were basically just books that were like the Pokédex, and it had each Pokemon, each page, they were like big, and it had all their stats and stuff, because obviously I was into Pokemon.
And it was like a physical book?
It was a book, and I would take tracing paper.
Oh, nice.
And I started tracing them, especially the ones I liked the most, and then I would like it was crazy. It's quite impressive. I should give myself a bit of credit. It kind of blows my mind. I support tracing when you're learning. Like, obviously not to sell or anything, but tracing is a great tool, because what I did, even at a young age, is like, I don't even remember. Like, I think I loved Eevee or something, and I traced it for like 6, like over and over again until I was like, I know how to draw this. And then I would take it over to a normal piece of paper and keep like the other one nearby. So I was kind of copying it until I didn't need that one anymore.
Cool.
Like, I need that kind of drive now, honestly. I had great, but that was so, and I've done it into like my older art phases too. I remember learning how to, what was it? Like learn how to do folds in clothing by tracing pictures of like celebrities on Photoshop. Throw a picture in there of an outfit I liked and like traced it. And then I was like, this makes sense. I get it now.
Oh,
so yeah,
cool.
I support that, honestly.
Yeah.
Controversial.
I watched, it was something about a guy who was like a comic artist, and he like drew like modern day like comic scenes and stuff, and he was talking about the background stuff, like all the like light poles and like the power lines and stuff, and he said that he would just go out around Los Angeles and take pictures of the mangled power lines and stuff, and he would have those right next to him and would just take from that when he was drawing, because he was like, you're never gonna make all that stuff up, and like, why? You don't have to, like, go and get a picture of that. And like, it was just for the backgrounds and stuff, but like he was like, have a reference, like do it right. And I thought that was pretty cool. I liked that idea. Yeah,
it is cool. References are really important, actually, for anyone who wants to get into drawing of any kind. It's like, that's something I think I was very stubborn about at one point in my life, which is funny because that's how I started. But there was a phase I had of like, I don't need references. You do. You need some. You need some references sometimes, like for that. And like, that's a shortcut that you should take. Yeah, like work smarter, not harder. Like, I think I've seen a lot nowadays that people will do like 3D renders of backgrounds and then like throw it into, a Photoshop for their comics and stuff when you're doing... when you're trying, especially digital, like web comics, like they put those out really quickly. So a lot of those artists will like, either take photos like that or like rig up something on their, I don't know, blenders or whatever CGI programs, I guess you use. and then just throw it in there and like trace it. So it happens more often than I guess you would think, honestly, when you think of reference.
Yeah. And like, yeah, why not do that?
Yeah.
Like you get to the product faster and it's going to be better. It's like just using the tools in your toolbox well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Just makes things easier, especially when you're trying to make art quickly or, easier. Like, or if you're not super strong in those places, like, I would definitely take a photo and trace it for a background. I'm not the best background artist, so yeah. Support it.
Well, and it's like in music, using a chord progression that's been used already, or like
Honestly.
taking inspiration from another song, or like you kind of like weaving a musical idea into a song, like that happens all the time. And so that's an interesting. I think that's like the correlation I see with what I do and what like how that happens in the visual art world.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, that is similar. That's interesting. I like that. Actually, it's really cool.
So you were like pretty young getting into tracing.
Yes.
Was that like, so you were in like grade school doing that?
I could have been a little older. Like, I feel like
into
I was
like
young,
middle school
though.
and stuff?
Yeah, I think it was like, I was probably maybe like, it's like somewhere between third and fourth grade-ish. So I don't know. Yeah, like 8-ish, maybe 7 or 8.
Okay,
6,
cool.
7, 8. I don't know. Around that area.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then did you like you just like kept at it and like kept drawing? Like
I always had sketchbooks. Honestly, big shout out to my mom because she always bought me sketchbooks for like every birthday and Christmas. She would always say like it's good, like good to throw in a stocking or just have, like, and then even if I use them later, I always had them. So sketchbooks, big shout out. Yeah.
Nice.
Sketchbooks are so important, if you're wanting to get better at drawing. You just like, and they actually really taught us that when I was at St. Francis, which I thought was really cool. My professors really encouraged us to like always have a sketchbook on us and like just keep, filling them, even if like you don't need to show anyone. Just keep, doing little things and like trying new things. Like they're just great tools to practice.
Nice.
So I like the moleskins because I can kind of carrying them around. They're like small enough. I got one right there. It's like just small enough you can carry it and it's not too much and the paper's nice. So but yeah, sketchbooks.
That's awesome.
Definitely is how it kept going, I would say. Because I just had paper available.
Yeah.
And at the time when I was younger too, a lot of the people in my life were very like creative. Like I was surrounded by a lot of musicians and a lot of artists, which I'm really grateful for, and always will be, because I was always just around the arts, which I think was super important to like me wanting to stay with it and understanding it and loving it. So yeah.
Cool. So like when did you feel like when do you feel like you figured out your style? Like if you feel like you have figured out your style, like
that's the big question.
Yeah.
That's the question I think a lot of visual artists struggle with too, because it's like some don't. Some actually, figure it out and they know it. So, it comes like quicker, or I don't know. It's so interesting because I know so many artists, and some I feel like have known their style so long, and some people are just figuring it out, or like sometimes it's like they have different styles, which is kind of where I fall into, honestly, because I can do the cartoony, but I also like the more kind of abstract-y illustration that I do with like acrylic paints or like the colored pencils, So I've always had that kind of illustrative look to it, though, kind of like the figures and kind of like the expressive eyes. And I love drawing like lips. Like most of my work is of women, but not all of it. But it's all very soft. And I like doing makeup and on characters, making them look very like rendered, which is really fun. I love hair. Hair is so much fun because there's so many different kinds of hair, and shading it is so fun. Yeah. Did I go off topic? What was the question?
My your style. Yeah.
I got wrapped up in talking about it. That's what happened. That's funny. I don't know. I think it's just I've always been influenced by you know, like cartoons and comics and animation. So I always knew I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do that, even from a like really young age. Obviously Disney movies were always around, and big fan of Don Bluth films. So, you know, like All Dogs Go to Heaven, Secret of Nim. I don't know if you've seen any of those. Highly recommend.
I guess
Don Bluth
I
is great.
might have seen Secret of
They're
Nim.
older. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one with like the mouse and like the rats, and she's has to go to them because like her son's
Huh.
sick. It's a book, I think,
Okay.
but the animation's very good. Stuff's great. They're a little
Cool.
older, but recommend those. But yeah, I think just it was always like, and I would watch things like on repeat, and I think that's where like, I don't know, especially getting interested in animation, it definitely started in the middle school anime phase that lasted not past middle school. So I'll just say that. I'll just say, I'll put it out there. Because anyone who knows me, I can't lie about that. And I'm not ashamed of it. Because, I mean, there's some amazing anime. Anime was here before Disney even was born. So
Cool.
anime goes way far back.
Really?
Some really old animes are really great. Yeah. From like the 70s, 80s. Old animation's actually very cool. That's something I've gotten into more recently. It's pretty crazy. It's been around a long time.
Yeah, that's all something I've wondered about is and like how they did it back in the day. Like I mean, I've heard about
Yeah.
like glass pane animation and
Right.
stuff of like the initial discovery of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think like now it's interesting since there is so much technology that makes it some oftentimes easier. There's this like yearning to kind of to like some people have this desire to hold on to those old methods of creating.
Yeah.
Like there's a girl here in town who has a risograph. It's Sarah. I mentioned her to you because it's like a printing machine,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it like has apparently you put an image in it and it scans it, and then the machine burns a rice paper stencil,
Oh, wow.
and that gets wrapped around an ink drum, and the ink is pressed through the stencil onto paper.
How cool.
And so like it's kind of imperfect, you know, it's each one's going to be a little different, but there's like a cult following for these old, I mean, they're from like the like maybe around the new millennium, like the like 2000, I don't know. It looked like I saw one and it looked like a copy machine.
Yeah.
Pretty much like a big giant copy machine you'd see in an office building. But like yeah, I think it's interesting to see people like holding on to those techniques of creating that aren't like as easy or efficient, but they hold some. There's like something to that that like I don't know makes it more valuable.
Yeah, that's something I actually have been thinking about a lot recently. Like putting in like connecting that with animation, 2D animation versus the new age millennia of our CGI animated films, which are also great. I feel like I'm not trying to start any drama. I also actually don't know if anime started before Disney, so I don't. If anyone cares or Googles that, I don't actually know. I just wanted to go back to that point. But yeah, a lot of I mean, obviously studios are preferring to go CG route because it's probably easier, cheaper, faster, make money. And they can be great. It's still a great medium. It's crazy what we can do with it. Like I am not trying to diminish it at all, but the obvious shift from wanting anything to like 2D truly 2D animated, that's where I think actually the gap where studios like Cartoon Network and you know there's some new ones, I can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but these animation studios, I guess, who continued to make those, like, because there was a gap there in the 2000s where like Disney and then like DreamWorks was a thing that came along and competitors, and then Pixar obviously, but they're all CG, you know, like all of that stuff kind of like I don't know how else to say this, but I guess around the time like Shrek 1 came out, you know, like that era of like we're going to CG, and Disney did it too, and then we dropped off of 2D. That's where like Cartoon Network jumped on the ball, and that's when we have the like Flapjack, which is a crazy branching show. Actually, if you look at Flapjack, which great show.
Yeah, I watched a little of it. I thought it was crazy.
It's so spooky. Hey, spooky Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Go watch Flapjack. A lot of the people who worked on that show branched off and made like all of the other great like Cartoon Network shows. They were all like part of the show, like Pendleton Ward, who made Adventure Time, and then
really?
I think a lot of people, yeah, and then obviously Adventure Time happens, and then you get other great creators who come out of that and then make their own shows. Can't think of any other off the top of my head. I think Rebecca Sugar made Steven Universe.
Okay,
they're all great. I think those shows are cool because they really like kept the 2D going when the major studios stopped doing it. So I love those cartoons, honestly. Those are a great inspiration too.
Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah, the Shrek thing is funny because I do remember on Shrek 2, there was a special feature where they talked about the like improvement in the digital animation from Shrek 1 to Shrek 2.
Oh my gosh,
and the big thing was the lighting. They like spent a lot of time working on like how to render like the lighting on things. And so they were like, yeah, if you look at Shrek 1, like the shadows or like the contrast is way higher and like stuff it looks like kind of fuzzy or like a little fake, like it wasn't like real light cast on it. And then they like put a lot of energy into that, and Shrek 2 was much more well lit.
Right.
And like me coming from a theater area, like I was doing theater when I was young, and so like tech day is like an 8 to 10 hour day where half of that time is spent sitting still or standing still on stage so your lighting guy can move a light so that it shines directly on you, so you better hit that mark when the show goes down, otherwise you're going to be out of your light. And so like that I thought was really interesting. So it's funny you mentioned Shrek because like that actually was a point where that CGI style of animation was making like leaps and bounds of progress. And I think it's maybe progressed a little. It has definitely progressed since then, but I think that was probably the major developing time for CGI animation. Was definitely. Like the early 2000s, like the first half of the 2000s, that stuff really like ramped up.
So true. Yeah, exactly that time period. Because I don't think Shrek was necessarily the first, but it was definitely like the big one where it was like, and I think that's why Disney started really pushing that way, because there's always been a competition between DreamWorks and Disney, and I feel like they had to keep up. And Shrek is actually like a spoof of a lot of Disney stuff. I don't know if anyone's noticed. They're just fully making fun of Disney.
Oh yeah.
The beef goes deep. If you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, it's crazy. DreamWorks versus Disney is nuts. But yeah, Shrek, it is a turning point of animation.
Yeah, and culture. Let's be real.
Honestly, love that this is where we've ended up. I can't lie. It's great.
Yeah, so it's that is cool, like that observation on how Cartoon Network kept that 2D style and how it did more stay in like TV shows.
It did.
Like there aren't, I mean, maybe now there's some movies. I'm not watching too many animated movies these days. But here and there, it seems like it's kind of a mix of the two almost now. Because I think there was a point in like the late 2000s where the CGI got Uncanny Valley. I'm thinking like robots. Polar Express. Polar Express was the big one because it was an actual human. Yeah, was it Tom Hanks? Was he the guy?
I think so. And the kids. I think that's one of the movies that people say is like the most uncanny.
Yeah. I wonder what year that came out. I think it was like 2006, 7, or 8. I think that came out. Yeah,
I'd say so.
Yeah. And yeah, that one definitely, because it was like real, it was humanoid people that like even like robots and stuff like that. It like they were almost, it was like they were animatized.
Yeah.
Like they were animated like humans, but it was like, I don't know, my brain did not compute
Which
that.
robot movie are we talking
Just
about?
the one that was called Robots. Do you remember
The one
this? And it
oh.
was like it was all
They
blue
were kind of
gray
odd.
in my mind.
Oh wait, is that iRobot?
No, no,
Not the one with
no,
Will Smith.
no. Robots was all animated.
That's the one that's okay. Yeah, I do know. I had to like clarify for a minute because
and
the
not
iRobot robots are a bit scary too. But, no, that movie's
But
actually great.
Yeah,
that movie has a very like.
I bet it is. I bet it's a great,
It's
good
kind
story.
of got like a crazy, unexpected, theme of like capitalism and how it's bad.
Really?
Yeah, it got. I watched it
this.
kind of recently, and I was like, oh my.
No way.
It's kind of like, and there's some like, as they do. There's like a lot of random adult jokes in there, and I was like, this movie's like kind of not for kids. Like you got your like, because basically. The whole, if you ever want to watch it,
let's go in.
Because it's kind of nuts how it's kind of like deep, and then this movie just happened, and I feel like no one talked about this, but the whole premise of the movie is that there's robots and they need to upgrade, and so there becomes a monopoly man who makes these like upgrades, but obviously if you can't afford them, you're gonna just break down. Isn't that so deep? It's
holy
crazy.
Shit.
I know. Robots.
I gotta revisit Robots.
I know. I watched it recently. I was like, this has got some themes going on that are kind of dense.
Kind of Orwellian sounding.
Exactly.
Like, geez.
More woke than we expected.
Yeah, huh. Definitely not revisiting Polar Express, though.
No.
No.
Not even with Christmas coming up.
No. I'll stick to Charlie Brown and my 2D animations. Thank you very much.
I love that.
Yeah.
And speaking of, actually, I wanted to throw something in here for the Halloween episode. A great TV show that I watch every single year for Halloween is called Over the Garden Wall.
Oh,
and it is sorry, I keep like smacking. I don't know. I keep smacking my mouth. I'm so thirsty. Hey, but this tea's great.
Indiana tea. Shout out to Tom at Indiana tea.
So good. Over the Garden Wall is so good. It's a very quick series. There's only, I think, like 10 episodes, maybe even less, and they're each like 20 minutes. Cool. But it is just the Halloween show. It was a Cartoon Network show that they aired over the premise of a week for Halloween.
Oh, cool.
So it's a one-off,
yeah.
and it's really good, and it's kind of, I guess I don't want to spoil it too hard, but it's basically about two kids who get lost in like it's called The Unknown. It's the kind of in between of possibly life and death, and a lot of spookiness goes on, and it's so good for Halloween. You almost watch.
I feel like I kind of remember that. Yeah.
You should watch it. It's good. And it's beautifully made. And you can tell there's a lot of love in it. And the music is great.
Cool.
It's got good music.
Which one is it on? Where's it streamed?
Hulu.
Okay.
Over the Garden Wall.
Over the Garden Wall.
So, and you still got time. Yeah, watch it today.
Nice.
If this is coming out on Halloween, watch it right now.
Yeah.
Well, finish listening to this, and then go
watch Over the Garden Wall. Yeah. Huh. Cartoon Network did put out a lot of really good Halloween like shows and specials. Actually, they were all about Halloween. It was awesome.
I think honestly, you're 29, I'm 28. I think we grew up in such an awesome time for animation that I kind of feel bad for these kids. They don't have, there was just that time where we weren't quite on phones yet. We were still watching TV, and then Cartoon Network was right there hitting us with like, there was the old stuff that was just kind of fun, like I'll think of stuff, from where is it, like
Ed, Ed, and Eddie,
exactly.
Courage the Cowardly Dog,
and those are
Foster's,
just kind of
Foster's Home. I loved Foster's.
So good. Foster's is where I think we started to actually branch into like more self-aware animation, because that's the thing. And Flapjack was that too, where it was kind of like Courage and stuff, where it's like, this is kind of spooky, but also just still goofy. There was a turning point, and I honestly want to say it was around the time where Foster's and then Adventure Time. Adventure Time is a big turning point because It's got both. It's goofy, like animation should be, and it's limitless, but then it hits you. I'm actually watching it for the first time right now, so I haven't
Oh,
even
nice.
finished it. I'm in like season 7, where it's starting to get really actually real, where like
Yeah.
the timelines start to like connect, and things that happened earlier in the show actually mean something really big to this plot, and you find out there's actually a lot of like politics, and like it starts to get very self-aware. And that's
Yeah.
where I think animation took another turn with like kids, and it also with Avatar: The Last Airbender
Oh,
too. It must
man.
be said that's one of the
Oh,
best
yeah.
animated shows of all time,
All time.
where they realized that their audience, who were kids, were not dumb. They can make
Yeah.
animation,
Yeah. Yeah.
they can make animation like a real, like, it was that time where it was kind of like, yeah, we can tell real stories, like, because
Uh-huh.
animation should be like a medium. It's not necessarily a genre. There can be
Mm.
self-aware themes and even adult themes in
Mm-hmm.
animation. Like that's a hard thing where I don't know, people talk all the time about how animation gets snubbed at award ceremonies
Yeah. Oh,
because
yeah.
it's just for kids.
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
not. It's totally
No.
like for all kinds of things. It's
Oh,
great for
yeah.
horror. It actually
Oh,
is,
yeah.
honestly. So
Man.
yeah. Yeah, Adventure
Yeah.
Time's definitely a turning point.
Uh-huh. I haven't gotten that far in that show.
It takes
But
time.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
long one, and I haven't either. And then they've already come up with like a whole new series of it that's
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, where they have like, you've got like Finn and Jake, and then they've done this like gender bent version of them where he's a girl and he has a cat, or she has a cat, Fiona and Cake, which
Yeah, yeah,
happens
yeah.
in
In
the
the show,
show.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's always very goofy. Like I think it's kind of supposed to be like a story or something written, but this new series I think is like a whole dimensional thing, and it looks amazing, and I can't watch it till I finish Adventure Time.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is a great show, and I like, even without even finishing it, I know that this was like, just from when it came out and where animation went from there is nuts.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, then in that line, and with Pendleton Ward and animation being for more than just kids, have you
Yeah.
seen The Midnight Gospel?
Oh, yeah. So
Oh,
great.
dude, so good.
Yes.
Like, and so Duncan Trussell wrote that. He like did the writing. It was his episodes of his podcast that Pendleton animated over. And
Oh, that's right.
so
I forgot
like
he animated that.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
he was the
Pendleton Ward
animation
was
director.
like the head animator
That's
for
why
that
it's so
show.
good.
I know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, incredible. And like
Gotta
the animation
rewatch.
is great. And they wanted to do another season. Like they had it all planned out. They like were going to flesh out more of the concepts that they put in the first season, but just not enough people watched it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so like Duncan said that the executives at Netflix were like all on board. They loved his show. They thought it was super cool. They were happy they got to make it, but they were like, shit, man, we just ain't got the numbers, so we can't do you another. Like, sorry, man, but that's the way she goes. And he was like, well, yeah, that's the way she goes. So it's, yeah, hopefully that, I mean, it got made though.
It
So
did.
it's out there, and like
Yeah.
maybe some other studio or something will pick it up, or they can they'll like get the rights to it and be able to do
Yeah.
it like independently or something.
And that's happened before.
Oh,
So
really?
That would be great if that did happen. And that show deserves, it would be great if someone
Oh,
picked it up. Because
yeah.
it could go. That could go for so long.
So good.
Be cool if he could even maybe find a way to like support smaller studios. Like if each episode was just differently animated by different studios. That's something I would do. Like if Netflix screwed you over, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't know. But there's a show that started on Netflix, adult animation, very good, called Tuca and Birdie. They're like birds, like humanoid birds. It's kind of like animated Broad City. If you've ever seen Broad City, it's, two 30-year-old women, basically. That's the show. And shenanigans. It's really good. But it got canceled on Netflix, and then HBO picked it up. So
really?
season like 1 is on Netflix, and then the other 2 are just on HBO. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
They're split up. But it has happened. So maybe.
Yeah, fingers crossed that somebody picks up Midnight Gospel for a second season.
So good. That concept of a podcast animated is genius.
Yeah.
So smart.
Yeah. And like the way they were able to mix it together, and like when Ram Dass gets dropped in there, that just like hit me so deep.
So
I was
good.
like, and it came out in the middle of the pandemic. It was like April 2020 that it came out. So it was like, you know, everybody was in quarantine.
That's so true.
Very few of us were watching the Midnight Gospel.
But I
But
remember feeling
yeah,
very existential when I finished it, and I think it's
yeah,
probably because that's the time period it came out, because it's, just stuck in the
yeah,
house thinking.
yeah.
Stuck in the house thinking. It's so
Definitely.
good. That last episode will always kill me.
Uh-huh,
It's like
uh-huh.
so beautiful.
Yeah,
The whole show
yeah,
is so good though.
uh-huh.
And how like a plot still gets put together even though
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
podcast episodes is so good.
Yeah, it
So
was.
crazy.
Yeah,
Good
I love
show.
it. And so hopefully, and well, BoJack Horseman, that was
Ugh,
an adult animated show, and like
yeah.
that got like that was popular enough to
Yeah.
be seen all the way through. So like
So
there is
good.
hope out there for this medium to get some more time, more cred,
Yeah.
which it's totally deserved. Like, and so that makes me happy. I believe in animation.
Thanks. That's so nice to hear. Honestly, because it's like, it is kind of dying out. And I that's why I am glad that I think adult animation is making its rounds now. I think it
Hmm.
is finally we're at that point where it's being made more often, and
Hmm.
there is some like really accredited shows like BoJack Horseman that exist, which is
Hmm.
awesome because I
Hmm.
think there was a period where it was kind of just like I don't know, like it's only Disney and Pixar and maybe
Hmm.
DreamWorks and
Hmm.
those are for kids, which even those aren't necessarily for
Uh-huh.
kids. It just kind of ended up that way, I think,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because they end up in like the family and kids sections on
Hmm.
your streaming sites
Yeah.
and but it's like, man, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it was Family Guy, Futurama, and South Park,
Oh, what a
which I
combo.
like. I mean,
Yeah.
in probably like increasing order, there's what I appreciate that. Like South Park, I love South Park.
I do too,
Grew up on that
actually. I
shit.
did too. I was
Like,
really too much into it.
yeah,
Actually,
probably,
yeah.
same.
Um, oh, for anyone who ends up watching this, I hope some of my old friends watch this one because I'm gonna put it out there and I'm just gonna say, y'all know how bad I was for South Park. I think I drew some like South Park fan art, which is hilarious because then they became like self-aware recently and had a new episode where a character had like a bunch of fan art drawn.
Oh my
And I was like,
god.
this is too much. It's like too self-aware because there was definitely fan art that was drawn at one point.
Oh, that's
I don't know why I liked
hilarious.
South Park is like there's not even, it's just it
Hmm.
was just there. It was
Yeah,
always on
yeah.
and it was
Uh-huh.
funny enough and the
Oh yeah.
characters there is quite a bit of adult animation actually. We
Hmm.
kind of grew up in
Hmm.
that time period. Yeah, of like Futurama, which is
Yeah,
so good.
yeah, yeah. I love
Futurama's so good.
Futurama. Uh
Must be
huh.
mentioned.
Uh huh.
Actually also one of the best animations of all time,
Uh
like a
huh.
turning point. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a great
yeah.
show.
Uh
And
huh.
Simpsons, I guess. They
Yeah, Simpsons.
yeah.
Aren't they still making
I think
episodes
so.
of that? Like, I
Yeah.
think it's still running.
I
It's
think it is, which
ridiculous.
is wild.
Yeah.
And King of the Hill, love King of the Hill.
King of the Hill.
It's so good. It does fall off a little bit as you go through the
Uh
seasons
huh.
because
Uh huh.
we were watching it for a little while, and I remember we fell off of it because I think in the newer seasons the writers are different, but those early seasons
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
so good,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
top notch.
And man, I gotta throw out Beavis and Butthead.
Right,
Like
you must.
I remember as a kid, we had a VHS tape that was a recording of MTV's Beavis and Butthead Marathon. So it was like
Oh,
an 8-hour VHS tape that was just full of Beavis and Butthead episodes.
that is
And when I would
incredible.
stay home sick from school, that would be put in the
Oh,
the tape player. VCR, that's what they call them.
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I would just like eat Jello and watch Beavis and Butthead on my sick day from school, and that was my medicine. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
I
not
love that visual.
yeah, right. It made me feel better,
It does, yeah. That's great. Just an
right?
8-hour loop.
At 8, yeah, just
Rewind
going to
it.
town. Probably stop it and put on Finding Nemo at some point.
Oh man. Hey, Finding Nemo is so good.
Yeah,
Actually, we can pivot into CG that I like because I feel like
yeah.
I've been hating on it, but Finding Nemo is so good.
Hmm. Hmm.
Especially the first one. The second one's not bad actually
Hmm.
either.
Hmm.
But the music and I think
Oh,
that
that
was the first
music.
movie that they really tried to figure out water, at least from below the
Yeah, yeah,
surface.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
I think it's Moana where they said they were really trying to because
Mm.
that's what Disney kind of does. They kind of they've said this before, they make
Mm-hmm.
movies to like perfect things.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tangled, they wanted to get hair down. So each
Mm.
movie, Frozen, they wanted
Oh.
to understand snow. Each movie they come out with, they've
Oh.
kind of tried to perfect something.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
yeah, technically
Interesting.
Finding Nemo was Pixar, but I think Disney
Yeah.
owned them by then. I
Okay.
think. I can't remember. But it was still like a test on how they could make us feel like we're underwater,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
worked. It was
Uh-huh.
crazy.
Yeah, I was a big fan of special features back in the day. Still am. I like that's
Yeah.
something I miss with streaming is like we don't get
Yeah.
special features or deleted scenes anymore.
True.
Like it's kind of a bummer because I remember one of the special features in Finding Nemo, like in Shrek, they were talking about the progression of animation and like early on they were like trying to animate water and it just looked like shit. They were like
Yeah.
this is clearly animated, like it just looks bad. And so they like sent all the different departments off for like 3 weeks and gave them video of the ocean and were like animate this. They like
Oh
gave them
wow.
references.
Hey,
And then
yeah.
like 2-3 weeks later they all came back together and like played them for the director and like side by side they couldn't tell the difference. They got too good at it. They
Wow.
said they were like, okay, it was, you know, I remember one of them was a shot of like a whale. It was an aerial shot of like a whale underwater swimming around and like maybe some other fish around it. And like it was distorted from the ripples and there were
Oh yeah.
shadows and stuff. And they like got it perfectly. And like side by side, the animation looked just like the video. And so then they had to make it look like animation again because
Right.
they're like, we can't deliver children
Yeah.
an animated movie that looks exactly like the fish of the ocean. That's gonna freak them
Yeah.
out.
Have freaking
Yeah,
Dory swimming up, but you're like the ocean's like real,
yeah,
super real.
yeah. They had to like put like the eyes on the front of their heads, so
Yeah.
they like had faces and stuff, so
Oh
that like
yeah.
children could recognize them as
That's
like
interesting.
characters and could give them expression and stuff. Because you know, like
Right.
fish got the eyes on the sides of their
That's
head,
true. Yeah.
and yeah, it was like interesting that. Yeah, when they just worked on it, they got too good at it.
Wow.
It was
That's really
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And the lighting, I remember the lighting was a big
Yeah.
thing of how like light gets refracted underwater. And like how the beams
Yeah.
of light look and like the particles in the water and stuff too. They had like
Yeah.
they talked
What do
about all
they
the
call that?
generators. There was like the light generator, the shadow generator, the particle generator, the wave generator. They had like all these programs running to
Wild.
on top of each other
Yeah. I
to like
believe
create
it.
this image. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so much goes into like lighting and rendering when it comes to animation because it's actually kind of similar to theater lighting. It's the same, you know, your 3 points and your, you know, atmospheric, but you're basically working on a stage that's like in a computer. That's pretty
Yeah,
much what CGI
yeah.
is, and you've got your character, and it's like a little theater box kind of. It's crazy. Yeah, underwater, I can't imagine all the what is that called? Ocean snow something. I
I
feel like
think
I
it,
almost knew that term, but the particles.
yeah, I
Ocean
think
snow?
something
Snow.
like
It's snow
something like
something.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Liv watches a lot of deep ocean stuff. So that's always
Yeah,
on in
we've
the
talked about
background.
that.
I feel like it should be mentioned.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie is I'm gonna have to rewatch because I love
Oh,
being under the
yeah.
ocean. They get that so good, even like the
Mm-hmm.
deep sea with like the anglerfish, I think it's called. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
was so scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Just the one
Oof,
light and then the
oof.
teeth. So
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That reveal's really good,
Oh
honestly.
yeah, oh yeah. They did a good job. It was very well written.
It
Very
was.
well
It's a
written
good
movie.
one. Yeah. I think it's
And
Pixar.
hits deep. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah,
Pixar
I just
too.
can't remember
Yeah.
if that was when they were owned by Disney yet. That's an interesting wormhole to go down
Mm-hmm.
rabbit hole
Mm-hmm.
because it's like when were they bought? And at one point they weren't. Like I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure those like it was probably like A Bug's Life, which is so good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And something else. A few of them were made before Disney picked it up. I wonder, I almost want to say Disney picked it up when they made Up.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think maybe Finding Nemo was before then. I would have
Yeah,
to
it
Google that.
was.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
because I think Finding Nemo came out like
Yeah, that
2004.
definitely came out first. I just can't remember
Mm-hmm.
if that's like the movie where they like
Yeah,
merged or not. Because it would either have been, I think, Finding Nemo or Up.
yeah.
I don't remember when Up
I
came
can't
out.
remember either.
Up's pretty good too, actually. I love Pixar. Pixar's really,
Yeah.
they do things different. Disney has a very, like, all their characters kind of look similar. They have a
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
understood style and they have
Yeah.
rules in their worlds. And
Yeah.
Pixar's a little bit more loose,
Mm-hmm.
which I think
Mm-hmm.
is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Characters are
Yeah.
a little bit more cartoony and the stories are a bit more, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Disney very much has a like algorithm almost for their stories and stuff.
Yeah.
So I love Pixar. I prefer Pixar from Disney, but they're all one thing now.
Yeah.
In this day and age.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're pretty much indistinguishable.
Yeah.
If you really get down to it.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's whatever.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see like more independent stuff popping up.
I agree.
Like Hobnobbin happened last weekend, and I didn't get to go to any of it.
Me neither, but that is cool.
Yeah, there's like a whole animation section to it, I'm fairly certain. And the Cinema Center is really cool. Like, while we're on this topic of film and stuff, like, shout out to the Cinema Center here in Fort Wayne for being like a small, like, intimate theater.
So
like,
true.
And I don't know if it was there. Yeah, I saw a Studio Ghibli film that was made not by Miyazaki, the guy that did like Spirited Away and like the famous ones, but there was like another guy who was like the other partner in the studio, and he did more like realism films, and it wasn't like as fantastical. It was like vignette style, like a simple story of life, like just go and have a nice day at the theater. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's going to be a pleasant thing to sit down and watch for 90 minutes. And it was really cool. It was animated a little differently. I remember there being like memory scenes that like the edge of the frame was like softened and faded out, and like the way that they used animation to emulate what a memory looks like in your brain was very, very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. And it's neat being able to see like littler things like that. Like that, I think, was the North American premiere of that film. It had like premiered in Japan and stuff, like I think back in the day, like 70s or 80s or something.
Cool.
But it was the first time it'd been like released in North America, and that was at the Cinema Center. So cool.
Yeah, they get
shout
the
out to them.
coolest stuff. Yeah, and you know, you don't get those small art house theaters very often. Like we would never get some of the films that we get, like that, for example, without. You gotta support your art house theaters. It's cool that we even have one. I recently went there and saw a movie by myself, which was it's always fun. I love seeing movies by myself. I saw a very different movie, but I went to go see Bottoms, which it's like a lesbian like Fight Club movie.
Oh yeah, I saw the preview for that.
It was pretty goofy. It was by the same people who did like Pitch Perfect, so it's that Pitch Perfect kind of humor.
Yeah,
it was good though. I kind of liked it, but very different vibe. Yeah. But so cool, and I love how personable everyone in there is. Everyone like will have a conversation with you, and like and their concessions pretty reasonably priced and pretty good. It's a great little theater. Yeah. You gotta check them out.
Yeah, you can get a beer at the movies. It's awesome at that movie.
And it's not $1 million.
Yeah,
some of these movie theaters, man, it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
It really is.
I don't get concessions. I don't get popcorn at AMC or Regal or whatever it is.
Can't.
Yeah, no.
It'll be $30, $40.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, thank you.
I know.
Yeah, so support the small art house theaters.
True.
Like that's something that I definitely would like to see more of. Like there's so much, like not necessarily underground, but kind of underground scenes like this that just are operating and are doing really cool stuff. So people, check out the Cinema Center.
Yeah, the fact that we even had a little film festival here, that's so cool. Like Fort Wayne's really making it happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I know Hobnobbin's not huge yet, but they've gotten some real big names and some real great movies. Kind of sad I missed it. I always miss it. I feel like it happens really fast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's this weekend. And it's gone. So. But yeah.
The way she goes.
I volunteered 1 year in college. I want to say it was one of their first years. And that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun to volunteer for it. Yeah. I think that was back when I was in college, because I think some of my like peers had like films in it. I think that makes sense to me. I remember watching their films while volunteering. So yeah, it was a while back. Maybe 2016 or something. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Emma.
Hey.
Where can people find you on the internet? Where can they check out your work?
So, luckily I have the same username on pretty much everything. It's just my name. It's Emma Magsamen. And I've thought about changing that because it is my legal name. But you know what? I've stuck with it. So you can pretty much find me by looking up my name.
Nice. Yeah, make it easy.
You can find it all just under my name. I should come up on Instagram. I should come up on, I think Instagram is what I use mostly. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I post much. I think a Twitter will come up, and possibly a Tumblr. But I don't post on those as often, but I should. I probably should. But mostly Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And people can contact you for commissions. What kind of stuff do you do?
I can do illustrative stuff. So, like for you, I did posters. We can do any character designs you might want. I love character design. Very fun. Or like portraits. I could do like pet portraits. Pet portraits are always fun. Those are always good Christmas gifts. Just saying.
Oh,
yeah. I like doing portraits. Actually, it's fun.
Nice.
Getting a picture of someone and making them a little cartoon is cute. Yeah, and I don't know if I've necessarily got the time right now, but I'm open to discuss with anybody. But I have done like animation commissions in the past. I've done like 2 films for people before, which was really cool. And they're both very like sweet. Both of them were for like couples, which was cool, about like how they met and stuff.
Oh, really?
So those are on YouTube. My name might come up on YouTube too. I think I might have some like animated stuff on there. But yeah, I can do some stuff. Yeah,
cool.
Just hit me up, DM conversation. Meet for coffee if you're local. Love a good coffee. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you.
That was such a fun conversation. Yeah.
I learned some good stuff.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm always down to talk about film and animation and all the things. Yeah. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yeah, watch over the garden wall.
Yeah.
You must.
Yeah. Give out some candy. Yeah. Go get some candy.
Go get spooky.
Yeah, do it.
Hope you get in.
Jump in a pile of leaves.
Yeah, jump in a pile of leaves. Or if you're going out, be safe and hydrate when you're drinking and be sexy, hot, and cool.
That's
happy
right.
Halloween.
That's right.
Yeah.
My 3 rules: be safe, be cool, have fun.
Right.
Do those 3 and it'll be a great Halloween.
It will. Hey, thanks for having me on. This was so fun.
Absolutely. Let's do it again sometime.
We should. I'm down.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Righteous. Thank you, Emma, for being a great guest. I really enjoyed that conversation we had. I look forward to doing it again sometime in the future, and I look forward to having you do more art for me. She is a really good artist, and if you need her to do anything for you, hit her up. It's about that time of year to be doing the gift giving, so why not do it in a unique way and not support that bullshit system that we have been bestowed with called capitalism. Fuck it. Fuck capitalism. I said it. Okay, there we go. It's all out. So give Emma your money instead of Walmart or Target or Macy's or Hobby Lobby. Those are the only 4 that I can think of right now. So I'm just gonna move on from that. And so this Thursday, come on out to the garden where I'll be playing some music at Olivia's art gallery. If you haven't already, go listen to the last episode. She was my guest for that one, and we had a great conversation about the gallery that she is showing this week. It's 2 days from the day this comes out on spooky Halloween, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'm doing 1 or 2 other things this winter on the down low, but other than that, I'm going to be hibernating for the next couple months, God willing. So if you see me out and about, say hey. If you're listening to the show, I appreciate it. There's more podcasts than we know what to do with these days, so if you actually chose to listen to mine, appreciate it. I'm sure I know there's better ones out there. I listened to them, a couple of them, and I'm happy that I got some people listening to mine. So thanks for listening, and take care of yourselves out there. Drink enough water, try to get some vitamin D as the days grow shorter. It's just after 8 o'clock right now, and it's completely dark outside. It's really fall. It's really here, and it's pretty nice. It's actually a pretty good fall. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Oh, Also, check out Emma's links down in the description below. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Go give her your support. Yeah, okay, now goodbye.
I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand, walking through the streets of Soho in the rain. He was looking for the place called Lee Ho Fook's. Gonna get a big dish of beef chow mein. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo, ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. You hear him howling around your kitchen door. You better not let him in. Little old lady got mutilated late last night. Werewolves of London again. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo, ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. The hairy-handed gent who ran amok in Kent. Lately he's been overheard in Mayfair. You better stay away from him. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. I'd like to meet his tailor. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo. Well, I saw Lon Chaney walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw Lon Chaney Jr. walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. And his hair was perfect